There's a moment in every World Cup where the gap between expectation and reality starts to show. We're not talking about the small nations with nothing to lose. We're talking about the biggest names in football, the ones with the superstars, the history, the billion-dollar fan bases, and the weight of an entire country on their shoulders every time they step onto the pitch. And right now, at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, 3 of those heavyweights are sending a message to the world, just not the one anybody was hoping for. So subscribe to the channel before we deep dive into the complete story. Brazil, walking into this tournament as one of the most anticipated sides on the planet, navigated their entire group stage practically without their greatest icon. Belgium, the so-called golden generation who have been promising a deep run for over a decade, arrived in a group they should have dominated and nearly sleepwalked straight out of the tournament. And England, after setting the whole competition alight with a 4-goal opener, went silent when it mattered most and left their fans scratching their heads at a goalless draw against a side ranked 69 places below them in the world. 3 teams, 3 very different stories, but the same uncomfortable question running through all of them. Are any of these sides actually ready to win a World Cup? Because the knockout rounds don't forgive the things the group stage allows you to paper over. And what we've seen from Brazil, Belgium, and England over the past 2 weeks has raised some serious concerns about what comes next. So let's go through all of it. Let's talk about the performances, the narratives, the numbers, and the massive decisions that could define or derail the rest of this tournament for each of these nations. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe and join the channel so you don't miss a single update from the 2026 World Cup. There's a lot more coming. Let's start in Brazil, because no story at this World Cup has been bigger, messier, and more emotionally charged than the saga of Neymar Jr. This is a man who carries the hopes of an entire football culture, the most capped goal scorer in Brazil's history with 79 international goals, breaking the record set by Pelé himself. A player who has been to World Cups in 2014, 2018, and 2022, each time carrying a nation that hasn't won the trophy since the year 2002. And now, at 34 years old, walking into what is almost certainly his last World Cup, he came in on one leg. Literally. On the 17th of May, just 1 day before coach Ancelotti named him in the squad, Neymar suffered a grade 2 calf injury playing for Santos against Coritiba. The timing was almost unbelievable. Ancelotti had already made the decision to call him up, a decision that was already controversial given Neymar had played barely over 600 minutes of club football all year. The injury only intensified that debate. Brazil's national team doctor confirmed the issue on the 28th of May, estimating a recovery window of 2 to 3 weeks. That timeline, on paper, would have put Neymar in contention for at least the 2nd or 3rd group stage match, but football doesn't run on paper timelines. He missed the opener against Morocco on the 13th of June, a game Brazil drew 1-1 in New Jersey. He didn't travel with the squad to Philadelphia for the match against Haiti, instead staying behind at the team's hotel in New Jersey to continue his rehabilitation. And even for the final group game against Scotland on the 24th of June, he only came on as a substitute in the 76th minute. That's Brazil's all-time record scorer, a substitute appearance in a game they were already winning. That was Neymar's entire group stage contribution at the 2026 World Cup. Now, Ancelotti handled the situation with his usual composure. He's been open about why he brought Neymar to the tournament, saying publicly that it wasn't just about technical quality, it was about the experience and the example he sets for the younger players in the squad. And you can hear the logic in that. Having someone like Neymar around a dressing room full of 21 and 22-year-olds is genuinely valuable. But the football world is watching. Because without Neymar, Brazil relied heavily on Vinicius Jr., Rafinha, and young forwards like Endrick and Matheus Cunha. And for the most part, those players delivered. Brazil topped Group C with 7 points, a draw against Morocco, a 3-0 win over Haiti, and a 3-0 win over Scotland. Vinicius has looked genuinely dangerous. The team has functioned. The question nobody can answer right now is this: what happens when Neymar comes back? Does he slot straight into the starting 11 in the knockout rounds? Does Ancelotti manage him carefully off the bench? And if he plays, does it actually make Brazil better, or does it disrupt a rhythm the team has spent 3 weeks building without him? Those aren't small questions. Those are the kinds of decisions that can change the course of a World Cup campaign, and Brazil will have to make them very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you're finding this breakdown useful. Hit the bell so you get notified the moment we drop the next one. The knockout stage is going to move fast. Now let's talk about Belgium, because if Brazil's story is about a wounded icon, Belgium's story is about a generation that keeps arriving at the finish line and then stopping just short of crossing it. This was supposed to be a redemption campaign. Belgium crashed out in the group stage at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, eliminated from what many considered one of the weakest groups they could have drawn. It was the end of an era, or so everyone thought, and then they came back. Kevin De Bruyne, now 34, still pulling the strings from midfield. Romelu Lukaku, at 33, joint top scorer in Belgium's history, chasing 100 international goals. Thibaut Courtois back in goal. Jeremy Doku bringing pace and unpredictability in wide areas. A squad with genuine quality, under a new coach in Rudi Garcia, given a group against Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. On paper, one of the more manageable draws in the entire tournament. And then they nearly blew it. Against Egypt in Seattle on the 15th of June, Belgium were held to a 1-1 draw. Defensively uncertain, tactically passive, unable to find any real rhythm in the final third. It was the kind of opening performance that sets off alarm bells. 6 days later, against Iran in Los Angeles, it got worse. A 0-0 draw. 10 men for part of the match after young defender Nathan Ongoy was sent off for a foul as the last man. Iran had a goal ruled out for offside that, had it stood, would have sent Belgium into a genuine crisis. 2 draws from 2 games, 2 points from 6 possible. A squad filled with quality, performing nowhere near their level. The numbers inside those performances were damaging in their own way. Despite having De Bruyne and Lukaku in the team, neither player recorded a single goal or assist across their first 2 matches. A lack of synergy, a lack of a leader willing to take the game by the throat and change it. It's a pattern that feels uncomfortably familiar for Belgium at major tournaments. Going into their final group game against New Zealand, the mathematics were genuinely uncomfortable. A draw might not be enough depending on other results. Iran was still in contention. Egypt had won their second game to go top of the group. Belgium, the team supposedly coming to dominate Group G, were fighting for their tournament lives against New Zealand. And that is the story that has defined Belgium at major tournaments for years now. The gap between what they look like on paper and what they actually produce on the biggest stages. De Bruyne is still one of the best midfielders in the world. Courtois is one of the best goalkeepers who has ever played the game. But something in the collective keeps misfiring at the moments that matter most. The round of 32 could tell us everything, or it could give Belgium another chance to delay that reckoning for another few weeks. If you want to keep up with how this story develops, subscribe right now and stay with us through every round. The knockout stage drama is almost nothing compared to what's coming. And then there's England. And if there's any fan base in world football that knows the specific agony of high expectations followed by silent frustration, it's England supporters. They opened this tournament in Texas on the 17th of June against Croatia with one of their best World Cup performances in years. 4 goals, a high-energy attacking display, Thomas Tuchel's system clicking, the players looking confident and dangerous. It was the kind of start that makes a fan base believe. It was the kind of start that generates headlines and builds a narrative. 6 days later, against Ghana at Gillette Stadium near Boston, the story changed completely. England dominated the ball. They had 19 shots to Ghana's 2. Ghana came into that game ranked 73rd in the world, 69 places below England. By any measure on paper, this was a game England should have won comfortably. Instead, they couldn't score, not once. Their best chance came in the final minutes when substitute Nico O'Reilly's header rattled the crossbar. Harry Kane, who had been so crucial for his club all season, blazed over from a loose ball with 4 minutes remaining.
A goalkeeper who had only become Ghana's starter due to circumstances stopped them repeatedly, and the final score was 0-0. The analysis from people who watched England closely was consistent. There's a creativity problem. Declan Rice and Elliot Anderson in midfield are both outstanding competitors and fighters, but neither are the player who can unlock a compact defensive block with one pass. Anthony Gordon on the wing started both games and struggled to make the impact his talent suggests he should be making. Jude Bellingham, one of the most gifted players in the world, was replaced in the second half.
The reaction from former England players was pointed. Gary Neville highlighted Gordon as the player under the most pressure to keep his starting spot. Paul Merson called it a reality check after the Croatia high and questioned whether England have a plan B when teams sit deep and take away their pace. It's the fourth consecutive major tournament where England have drawn their second group game. There's a pattern here that goes beyond coincidence, and it's one that becomes significantly more dangerous in knockout football, where you don't get a third game to correct things. England now face Panama in their final group game on the 27th of June at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. They should win that, and then the real test begins. Because once the knockout rounds start, you will not find a team willing to sit as deep as Ghana and then leave you with a third match to recover. Whatever concerns exist right now, they are amplified in a round of 32 and beyond. If you're watching this unfold and you want to stay ahead of every development as we move into the knockout stage, subscribe to the channel right now. This is where the World Cup truly begins. So, what does all of this mean when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture? These three teams, Brazil, Belgium, England, represent some of the most storied football nations in the world. Between them, they have won the World Cup 6 times. They have hundreds of millions of supporters across every continent. They travel to tournaments with the kind of squad depth that smaller nations can only dream about. And yet, right now, standing at the edge of the knockout rounds, all three are carrying unresolved questions that could cost them everything. For Brazil, the Neymar situation is both an opportunity and a risk. If he comes back fully fit and integrated, he could be the difference maker in tight knockout games. If he's rushed back and his fitness isn't right, Brazil risks losing him again, and this time the pressure would be enormous. Ancelotti has managed the situation carefully, but the decisions get harder from here. For Belgium, it comes back to the same question it has come back to for the better part of a decade. Can this group of players, with all their individual quality, actually function as a collective in the moments that define tournaments? The group stage should have been easy. It wasn't. The knockout stage will be harder, much harder. For England, the creativity problem is real, and it needs a solution before they walk into a knockout game. The Croatia performance showed what they can be. The Ghana performance showed a limitation that smart opposition coaches will have spotted and will prepare for. Tuchel has the squad depth to make changes. The question is whether he will and whether those changes will work. Think about this. 3 of football's biggest nations, all navigating the same fundamental challenge. Talent is not enough. Star power is not enough. The teams that win World Cups are the teams that solve their problems before the knockout rounds solve them instead. Now here's something worth thinking about as we head into the final group games and then straight into the round of 32. Football history is full of teams who looked uncertain in the group stage and then found something in the knockout rounds. Italy in 2006 were unconvincing until they weren't. Argentina in 2022 drew their first game and then became champions. The group stage tests things. The knockout stage reveals them. Brazil have Vinicius Jr., who looks as dangerous as any forward at this tournament. They have Rafinha. They have youth. They have depth. If Neymar returns even at 60 or 70% of his best, he adds a dimension nobody can replicate. And Ancelotti has won everything in club football. He knows how to get the best out of individuals in high-pressure environments. Belgium have been here before. They came third in Russia in 2018 after a shaky start to the tournament. They found their rhythm. De Bruyne is still one of those players capable of single-handedly turning a knockout match. Courtois has already saved them at least once when it mattered. They're not done. England have Harry Kane, who is one of the best penalty box finishers on the planet. They have Bukayo Saka, who is always a threat. They have a coach in Tuchel who has taken teams deep in Champions Leagues and shown he can adapt tactically when required. The Croatia performance proved what this England side can look like when it all clicks.
The World Cup is not a linear tournament. It doesn't reward the teams who looked the best in the group stage. It rewards the teams who are the best when it ends. And that is precisely what makes the next few weeks so compelling. Here's where we leave it today. Three giants of world football are heading into the business end of the 2026 FIFA World Cup with things to prove. Brazil need to manage their greatest player back to the pitch without disrupting what's been working without him. Belgium need to find their identity before a single knockout loss ends the careers of some of the finest players their nation has ever produced. England need a plan for when the big open spaces disappear and the tactical chess matches begin. None of these teams are finished. None of them are out of this tournament. But the group stage has shown us exactly what the questions are. Now, the knockout rounds are going to demand the answers.